Hey there, guys and gals. Okay, so this is the Casting Shadows Molten Rock expansion, which is the second expansion. The first one was the Ice and Storm expansion, which released with the original Casting Shadows Kickstarter. This particular expansion is going to release at retail later. So one thing I want to get out of the way is that you could get this expansion early if you backed Command of Nature, which was Unstable Games' next card game. Think more akin to Here to Slay than Casting Shadows, but it takes place in the same universe as Casting Shadows. Anyway, what I want to get out of the way first is that we got access to the Molten Rock expansion early if we backed Command of Nature. But not all of the pieces of the Molten Rock expansion are available yet. They will be available when the game releases at retail sometime this year, I think it is supposed to come out. But stuff like the vinyl figures, the acrylic standees, the playmats, they have not come out yet. They are not available yet. So don't think that I'm missing them, because as you know, I'm going to collect all the pieces of this. It's not that I'm missing them like I didn't get them. They are not available yet, but they will be available later. People are getting mad at Unstable Games for this. They will be available later. Don't worry about it. What we do get here is you get the Casting Shadows Molten Rock expansion, which comes with the 2 new cards for the 2 new characters. You have Ash the Phoenix, which Ash Firecracker, Crackle, I'm not sure yet. Can't read it yet because I haven't opened it. You get a turtle guy, Dread Terrapin. You get a whole bunch of new cards to add to the game. There's some new elements added where you can now affect people in certain spaces. You can burn them. You can set a hex tile on fire so people who come through it take damage, that kind of thing, which is kind of cool. Just like the Ice and Storm expansion added the freeze blocks where you could now freeze people in place. They can't move on their next turn. You get a brand new regular land tile, and then you get 2 new tiles, which are the home tiles for the Phoenix and the Turtle. The only extra thing that we got in regards to the extra pieces is that we did get wooden meeples for their corrupted forms, which is good because only their regular form meeples are in here, so you'd have no way to represent them on the mat when you're playing that you were in corrupted form. So they did include those, and then they included some extra wooden tokens. Right now I'm going to open up the box over here for the Molten Rock expansion, and I'll show you what's inside of it. One thing I do want to say before I open it, though, is that all of the pieces that are in here should fit in the Kickstarter box if you have the Kickstarter box. So let's pop this bad boy open and see what's in the Molten Rock expansion. Woo! You got your Casting Shadows Molten Rock expansion rulebook. Let me see if so you get 24 new main deck cards. You get 4 counterspells, 4 companions, 3 new hex tiles, a bunch of status tokens. So now I have 2 different kinds of the status token. We have these cardboard ones, and we have the wooden ones in here that we're going to look through in a little bit. Get 2 meeples, 2 new reference cards, a hex tile reference sheet, which is great. Basically, you're going to set up the game this way if you're playing with 10 hex tiles. Remember that, it's Dread Terrashell and Ash Firecrest. Those are their names. Okay, cool. 10 out of 10. We'll take that. You can set up the board like that to make it easier. The new status effects are Scorches, so you burn people who are on there. The other new status effect is Fortify. So if you take damage, your Fortify starts at 2, you reduce that damage by 1, the Fortify token gets reduced to 1. The next time you take damage while your Fortify token is at 1, you will reduce the damage again by 1, but then you will lose the Fortify token. You have another quick Hex Tiles reference sheet. This one doesn't have all the things on it. It has just the new stuff, which is fine by me. Got our little tokens to pop out. Supposedly these will fit in the full Kickstarter box. We will find that out momentarily. Here's your Dread Terrashell meeple. Oh, he's so cute. And your Ash Firecrest meeple in their regular forms. These are just their kid-friendly forms before they get corrupted. Now we move on to the player boards. Oh yeah. Again, I didn't really play a lot of board games before. I really love the player boards for Casting Shadows. I think they're super, super cool because they have your corruption total over here, and then they have your health meter over here. Everyone has 18 health to start. And then you go up to 3, and that's when you flip over and you become your other form. So the corrupted form for Ash is Ash the Inferno! And basically, when you're in your corrupted form, you get a new ability. So Ash's ability is spend 2 shadow energy to scorch an adjacent hex tile. Once per game, when your HP tracker reaches 0, you can spend up to 5 shadow energy to gain HP equal to the amount of shadow energy spent. So as a Phoenix, Ash can revive themselves. And also they can scorch tiles, so people around them are going to take damage, which is also super helpful. Dread Terrashell, though, when he transforms, he can spend 2 shadow energy to fortify himself. So then he can reduce the damage by 1 when he takes damage twice, which is nice. When another player deals damage to you, you can spend up to 5 shadow energy to reduce the damage by the amount of... Oh, so he is like a total... He's the tank. He's a 100% defense-based hero. That's pretty cool, actually. Here are our Hex Tiles. So we've got the Fiery Meadows. There's a little vulture guy on there. And the symbol for that looks like a fire flower to me. You've got... This is definitely Dread's stage. This is the Cobble Cove. It's got a little seal guy who's probably in command of nature somewhere. And the symbol for this is an island. That looks very Steven Universe-y again. And the Sacred Falls tile is here. That's pretty cute as well. And next up, we've got the cards that it comes with. So there's a neat little pull tab. You just grab the golden part of it and then pull. And you should be able to open it just fine. Comes with 2 new reference cards, though basically the reference cards are all the same across all of the expansions. They just teach you how to play, so you can hand them out to the players that you're playing with. These are our Counterspell deck cards, so we have 4 of them. I'm going to read them off. Burn Buffer! Reveal this card when another player scorches a hex tile. So if somebody scorches, you can fortify. Next up is Healing Flame! Reveal this card when you travel onto a scorched hex tile. Remove the scorch token and gain 1 health instead of taking damage. That's cool. Remember that these are counter spells, so you can basically use them anytime something happens. The next one up is Phase Shift. Oh no, I dented my card. Oh, it fell on the floor and it got gross. Sorry. Phase Shift. Reveal this card when the enemy deals damage to you with an attack spell. Reduce that damage by 1, then fortify yourself. So technically you're going to get 3 damage reduction, because fortify is 2. And the last one is Arcane Wormhole. Reveal this card when an enemy would scorch your current hex tile. Scorch an adjacent hex of your choice instead. So you can, when they're like, woof, you can be like, no, woof that. Next up are your companions. So the way the game plays... Oh my god, Harvest Hamster is adorable. The way the game plays, when you start, there's a pile of 3 open companions, and when you first transform into your corrupted form, you get to choose one of those companions. So yeah, you want to be corrupted pretty much as quickly as possible so that you can get a power, but also so you can get first pick of the companions that are up there and out. So Harvest Hamster is each time you end your turn fortified, you gain a health, so you heal yourself as long as you're fortified, which is good. That's great. Next up is Ember Raptor. At the start of your turn, you can remove a Scorch token from an adjacent hex tile or scorch an adjacent hex tile. Oh, so you can make more fire or you can take away fire. Okay. Next up is Ferret Prowler. Each time you travel onto a Scorch hex tile, gain 1 HP. So you touch fire, you get healed. Okay. And last one is Char Bull. Each time an enemy scorches a hex tile, deal 1 damage to that enemy. So if someone's trying to mess up the board, you mess them up. And being that you generally will have more than 3 players in any given game, when one of those companions gets chosen, you pull the next one from the deck. Next up, we've got the rest of the main deck. So we're just going to flip them this way. You got an attack spell, Comet Storm. You can spend 1 red gem to deal 2 damage to a hex tile in range. You can spend 1 additional red gem to also scorch that hex tile. So at the spaces that are adjacent to you, you can hit someone, but then also pay more to burn that tile so that they'll keep getting burned. There's 3 of those. Combustion Blast. Spend 1 blue to deal 2 damage to a hex tile. You can spend 1 additional blue gem to also scorch that hex tile. So basically the same as that, except you're spending blue instead of red, and the same range, 1 tile adjacent to you. Another 3 of those. Next you have Fragmented Focus. Deal 3 damage to an enemy on your current hex tile. So if you're on the same spot, just yeah. And then you can re-roll a resource die without spending an action. So you're doing a ton of damage and you're re-rolling just in case. There's only 2 of those. Scorching Bolts. Spend up to 2 gems to scorch half hex tiles in range. Oh, so if this is 2 away, then that means you're blasting potentially 3 hex tiles. That's a lot. That's a lot of messing up the field. There's 2 of those. Gravity Gambit. Deal 4 damage to any enemy that's on you. Generally speaking, you deal more damage the closer you are in this game. So if you're standing on the same tile as another player, you're probably going to end up dealing more damage if you have an attack spell that hits this tile. 4 damage. And then you get to reroll 2 resource dice. That's crazy. Pillar Guard, spend 2 red gems to deal 4 damage to an enemy and then fortify yourself. So pretty much almost all the cards in here have some utility as well as damage. Spend 2 blue gems for Obsidian Aero to deal 4 damage to an enemy and then fortify yourself. So same idea, but different colored gems. Ooh, Twilight Transit. This seems like a teleport. Spend 3 gems to deal 5 damage to a hex tile in range, so 1 away from you. Force an enemy on that hex tile to travel to an adjacent tile. So this is a very big hit. Wham! And then you're basically pushing them back, and you're pretty much hoping you're going to make them walk into a scorched hex tile so that they take another damage. Next up, you got Radiant Refuge. This is a conversion spell, so if you have 2 orbs in your resource pool, you can turn them into 1 gem. And then you fortify yourself. Oh, that's cool. Double bonuses. Nice. Shadow Sanctuary. Turn 1 shadow fragment in your resource pool into 1 gem and then fortify yourself. Okay. Shatter Surge. For another conversion spell, turn 1 gem in your resource pool into 1 orb. You can then remove a Scorch token from an adjacent hex tile. Okay. Get 3 of those. And the last 2 are Flameless Forge. Turn 1 shadow fragment in your resource pool into 1 gem, and you can also remove a Scorch token. So I was worried that the only way to scorch things was going to be through, well, the only way that you could scorch or fortify would be through the 2 new characters. But seems like there's plenty of main deck cards that will also allow you to fortify and or scorch, which is great. And now finally we come to Little Baggy, which has the corrupted forms, so that would be Ash the Inferno and Dread the Ironclad's wooden meeples, and then some wooden tokens. So these wooden tokens are good. You have your tokens for Scorch, so apparently you can Scorch 1 or 2. So you can double a Scorch on a tile to make people take 2 damage if they're walking through it. Fortify is always 2 though. So we're going to grab our little kaiju boys. I've shown you the tags in this silica gel, which I'm sure you don't really care about. So this is Ash the Inferno. It's Meeple. Nice little wooden Meeple. And this is Dread the Ironclad's Meeple. He is very, very kaiju shaped. Like, so kaiju shaped.
Now, these are sleeves that I have left over that I bought from the Casting Shadows Kickstarter. There were so many problems with the Here to Slay sleeves because they took so long to release them to the public that a lot of people who just didn't buy Here to Slay sleeves at the beginning during the Kickstarter, or like they didn't have the chance to afford them at the time, they just didn't end up with sleeves. So I highly recommend whenever a game comes out by Unstable Games that will have cards that they're going to make particular sleeves for, you should go out of your way to buy those sleeves just to make sure stuff like that doesn't happen to you. It's not the end of the world if your cards aren't sleeved, but it will definitely protect them, at least somewhat.
Oddly enough, after I told you to make sure that you buy sleeves, I have enough sleeves to put the companions in sleeves, the counterspells in sleeves, but I don't have enough sleeves to put the rest of the main deck's cards in. So I will have to find some kind of alternative for this. until I buy more sleeves. But yeah, I'm hoping that the Casting Shadows sleeves are available because now I'm out. I happen to be out of sleeves for Here to Slay as well, but that's because I bought like a bajillion expansions and I have all the vinyl figures, so I have all their cards too. This is a little disappointing that the number of sleeves they gave me wasn't enough for the whole next 2 expansions, because I think I have 3 expansions for Here to Slay plus all those extra vinyl figures, and that's when I started running out of sleeves. So like this is kind of disappointing. I do usually just put the reference cards for all the Unstable games in like clear plastic sleeves that you could get for any trading card game, really, just to make sure that I keep them sort of safe. So I will do that with these as well eventually. This is my Casting Shadows exclusive edition box. I just removed the sleeve, which has the fox on it. But this was the cool Kickstarter exclusive guy, the owl. So we're going to open this up and see if everything from this new expansion fits in this box. I think it probably should. One thing they did, in fact, continue to do is that the base form is a different colored meeple than the corrupted form. So that's an easy way to tell like what form your opponents are in or what form you're in when you're just looking at yourself on the field if you don't have the acrylic or the vinyl standees. Looks like there's actually not I mean, I could lay this on top, but there's not enough room in these for all of the meeples, unless you put some. Well, you could shove them in there, but it's not a good placement for them. You need a little bit more room than you normally would. I personally went online and looked up the list of all the hex tiles that they had online at the time, so this doesn't include the new ones, but I just went and printed them out so I can hand them out to my players so that everybody has a reference sheet when they're playing. I think it just makes it easier. I could laminate these, but I'm probably not going to. The way that I arrange the player boards is I flip them upside down because of where the wheels are, where the gears are. They have these. If you do one right side up, one upside down, one right side up, one upside down, they will be flat in the box. But it does seem like, well, first of all, we're just going to look at this. Looking at this, this goes past the acceptable, like this goes past where you can fit them into the box. So that's a little disappointing. I think there's not enough space. Pretty sure there's not going to be enough space in here. A little bit of a manufacturing change here. If you can see down into the pit, the new tokens are the same color all the way around. For the Ice Storm expansion, the tiles are in fact all white at the top. But these guys are their respective colors. These actually do fit in there if you're doing all the wooden tiles in one go. Let's see, so I have these down there. We're going to see what happens if we do this. It's too tall. That's not looking good so far. So yeah, with the new hex tiles, it's a little too tall. So we'll move that out of the way for now. In here, these are my reference cards that I've put in little sleeves. So I'm going to go get some more sleeves for those. So like I said, for the reference cards, I just grabbed some clear sleeves that you could use if you play any other kind of trading card game. You probably have clear sleeves lying around. I have 10 reference cards total now, but the way that Casting Shadows is set up, they really only want you to go up to 6 players. But if you have more player boards, if you have the tokens, like Here to Slay, you can probably go a little bit higher than 6 players. You have the stuff for it. It's just that you'll end up reusing items more quickly. Like your cards you'll have to put back into the pile more quickly than you would if you were playing with only up to 6 people. That's really the only difference. You can still run the game with more people, especially if you have extra expansions to increase like the depth of the game, the breadth of the game. Since I unfortunately don't have any more sleeves of the exact correct color, like I don't have anything close to what matches this, I'm going to use clear sleeves because technically the back of the regular cards is the same as they are on the sleeves. This is with all the cards fit in, they're all sleeved, but we still have 3 which don't fit on this side, but we can put in all these guys. So we're going to do this, all these guys should go up on top. It's weird that they keep changing the size of everything. This is too big to fit in there, huh? Yeah, the Molten Core expansion is too big to fit in there, but these guys should. Some of these should. Oh man, no. A whole bunch of them are the wrong size. So you're definitely going to have to go over your intended size pretty much no matter what. So when they said everything should fit, I think they miscalculated a little bit, just a bit. It's definitely not going to close right. It's going to have a bubble in it for sure, which is a little bit of a bummer that you can't all just put it in one box. Now it's all the cards are in there. All the cards do fit. The cards fit fine, but the rest of the stuff, not so much. So we have all this extra stuff. I do have another box for it, so we're going to go look at that. See if that changes anything. So this is the other Casting Shadows box. It has the game mat. I put all my play mats in here. So eventually we will get ones for Ash and Dread. Potentially you might be able to fit more stuff in this particular one, but this is where I store the acrylic standees, the other dice. Now I'm going to put in these other tiles. You won't be able to fit the cards, but all the accessories you could throw in here if you wanted to. These guys, I might be able to stand them up now, actually, now that I think about it. Oh, that was bad. That is now with all the cardboard ones. Unlike the wooden tokens for the new stuff, the cardboard ones, all you just see that it's cardboard at the top. Now we're going to stick the remaining player boards in here, and then all the remaining rule books and stuff will go in here. So it unfortunately doesn't all fit in one box, but most of it fits in one box. You still will have to carry 2 boxes if you have everything, which is a little bit of a bummer. 3 if you've got all the vinyl figures. They have their own box, but I didn't even bother getting that out because we don't need it for this. So yeah, if you have the Kickstarter exclusive box, will unfortunately probably run out of space. If you bought enough sleeves, or what you thought you would have enough sleeves for, I still have some Counterspell and Companion deck sleeves, but I'm out of main deck sleeves in order to finish off the Molten Rock expansion, which is a little bit of a bummer. But if you've got these 2 plus the vinyl figures, now you have 3 boxes for Casting Shadows, not including, you can take everything out of the Ice Storm expansion box and everything out of the Molten Rock expansion box, and you don't actually have to use those 2 expansion boxes. You can fit everything else within these 2. If I rearrange stuff, I might be able to fit more of the accessories in the big box, but I mean, when the acrylic standees for Ash and Dread come out, I will end up putting them in this box. There's plenty of room for them there. When the vinyl figures come out, I suspect they're going to have their own boxes, kind of like Lucky Skipper did, who is the unstable unicorn. He has his own box. He doesn't fit into the box the rest of the vinyl figurines. And the playmats obviously are also going to go in this box because that's where the rest of the playmats went. Anyway, that's where they fit. But yeah, that was the Casting Shadows Molten Rock expansion. I'm happy to have this. I'm happy to start playing with the expansion now that I've done this video. Plenty more Kickstarter unboxings, plenty more game unboxings and tutorials and stuff on the way. So if you guys liked what you saw, leave a like. If you want to see more content like this, sub. This is absolutely optional. I'm not pressuring any of you to do it. But if I've helped you make an informed business decision or purchasing decision at any point, if I've helped you with these tutorials, if you just want to see more of them and support me, you can become a member of this channel. There's a join button on there. There's 4 different tiers. A lot of the tiers will give you information to help you with your D&D campaigns, because I've been doing a lot of D&D stuff lately, and that's kind of what fuels me. You can become a member here if you would prefer. You can become a patron on Patreon. There's also a link in the description below to that as well. If you're feeling super generous, again, no pressure, feel free to become a member on either here or Patreon. And I will see you guys and gals later in the next one. Thanks for watching.